like to call tonight's regular city council meeting to order. And for tonight's invocation, I've asked Alderman Heverly to please read the honors.
Would you pray with me, please? Father God in heaven, we first thank you for your presence with us this evening. We thank you for all the gifts that you have given us. We thank for you for some of us that you've given us the opportunity to serve the people of this community. And we thank you, Father, for all those that work for this great city, and we thank you for the citizens of Taylorville who support us. Lead us now in our discussions tonight. Let us rely upon you for wisdom when we need to make a decision. Let us listen to each other's points as we make points in our different discussions. We thank you for everything. We thank you for our Savior, Jesus Christ. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Larry Bud.
Here.
Sean Girdle.
Here.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Here.
Rob Heatherly.
Here.
Bruce Jones.
Here.
Jim Olive.
Here.
Martin Boda. Earl Walters.
Here.
7 aldermen present, 1 absent. First thing we have is a motion to utilize the omnibus vote for approval of the minutes of the previous meetings listed on tonight's agenda of the title omnibus vote designation. Motion by Alderman Dorchenez, second by Alderman Jones. Discussion or comment? Roll call, please.
Larry Bud.
Here. Yes.
Sean Girdle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
That's Burt's line.
He's always lying.
Here.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay. If you don't mind, I'll introduce. We'll be approving the minutes of the following meetings. Minutes of the regular meeting held June 6, 2016. Minutes of the Lake Airport Committee meeting held June 9, 2016. Minutes of the Water Environmental Committee meeting held June 9, 2016. Minutes of the Ordinance Committee meeting held June 16, 2016. And minutes of the Finance Committee meeting held June 16, 2016. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Walters, second by Alderman Heatherly. Discussion or comment? Roll call.
Sean Girdle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, I'd like to first introduce this group as Citizens for Education, and I'd ask Rick Champley to please address the council.
Thank you, Mayor and Senator Alderman. I had an opportunity to work with these fine young women here for Citizens for Education, and I'd like to give a presentation tonight. At this time, Melissa, would you like to take over? You're good at it? Very good.
Good evening. Good evening. Citizens for Education. We are a grassroots committee of parents, community, and business leaders created for the purpose of changing the way Illinois public schools are funded. And yeah, it really is as big as that sounds. We attended the January school board meeting, and we're listening to the list of cuts that were on the table for the upcoming school year, so that will be August of this year. And it included closing another building, reduction of faculty and support staff, and a reduction in a significant, considerably large group of programs. And it got our attention very quickly, and we thought, golly, this is just terrible, and there's gotta be something someone can do. So we got our heads together and said, we're gonna write a letter to the school board. We did that. They had a special meeting. It was held in the high school cafeteria. The community was invited, speakers. Went back to the next school board meeting with this letter and presented and said, give us some time. Can we work with you? Can we fight alongside you and see what can be done? In that process, I call it a moratorium. There's a 1-year reprieve on the cuts. They took the cuts off the table and said, here we go. Let's see what we can accomplish together. Dr. First on the school board, put us in contact with an organization out of Springfield called Funding Illinois' Future. They're a coalition that work with other school districts and other superintendents around the state of Illinois trying to accomplish this very thing. Communicating to the state legislators how broken the education funding formula is and suggest a better way to do it. Our Senator Andy Menard, we're lucky enough to have him and call him as our senator, has written a bill that is weighted differently, is calculated differently, so that it becomes more equitable across the state, across every school district, from a graduating class of 15 to a graduating class of 5,000. That bill has been presented in the Senate, it passed committee, it passed the Senate, it went to the House, and it stalled out. Speaker of the House will not call it. We, in the process of all of this, have been asking more questions, speaking to more people. We've encouraged other communities to build a Citizens for Education organization in their community. When we joined the coalition of Funding Illinois Future, we were the only parent community-based organization that has ever joined our group. Dr. Furstenau has been a superintendent, has been a member for 2 or 3 years now. Our school district is a member. And we didn't even know it. We sat in the board meeting and looked around and thought, this is crazy. This is not a battle that can be waged with just the superintendents. This is affecting the entire community. It's the property owners. If you are a landlord, if you are a local business owner, the business you work for, even if you're not a business owner. This is the community as a whole. It's not just, oh, I want my kid to have football. It is so much bigger than that and affects each and every one of us entirely. Currently, our school district, through the Illinois State Board of Education, has a rating on fiscal responsibility and stability, a rating of 1. That's the best rating we can have. It means that our superintendent and our school district has been fiscally responsible with the money we have. It's just that it's not much money. And I will tell you that there are a number of districts that are not as solid as we are. We hear we've got trouble, and that's completely true. But it's because we don't get the money from the state because of the current calculations, the way the funding formula is written. It's based on property tax values. Because of where we live and our property values, we don't get as much money from the state as some of the collar counties in the Chicago area, north of I-80, some of the communities in the I-80, Naperville area, some of these communities. Their property values generate a higher income for their school district. And the governor keeps throwing money into the same funding formula. It's going through a sieve, and it's going in the wrong direction. The communities that are able to survive on their own, succeed on their own, end up getting more money out of his formula than we do. Comparatively nationwide, the state of Ohio, for every dollar they spend on their not poverty student, spends $1.22, 22 more cents for each of their poverty students. Illinois, for every dollar we spend on not poverty families, our poverty students receive 89 cents. We get less for our neediest kids. That's not a Taylorville formula, that's an Illinois statewide formula. So the communities that have a 1% or a 0.7% poverty rate in their school district get more money from the state of Illinois for their students that can already support themselves based on where they live, strictly by zip code. It's broken. We took on the challenge to fix it. We've made appearances. Well, before that, we got our group together, and this is like a third of our group. We've got about 12 of us that we've been meeting about weekly, sometimes more or less. We've made a website. We have learned how to handle Twitter and Facebook, which is a challenge for some of us. And an embarrassment to our kids. We have been invited to make appearances and speak on behalf of the organization and the brokenness of the formula at the state capitol more than once. We've met with Avery Bourne, our representative for most of us here in our area. Doesn't cover everybody in the Taylorville School District, but most of us. We have encouraged her, and she has agreed and accepted the challenge alongside us. and has worked the floor on the House Task Force meetings and brought people on board and got votes. We were close. If Speaker Madigan would have called it, we were within striking distance of getting it passed out of the House to have fixed the formula. And it's a long-term fix. It's not a one-year fix. It's a long-term fix. But we can't get it to the floor, and May 31st deadline passed, and here we are. The governor created a plan. You know, everybody has to have a plan. You got senators with the Democratic side plan, you got the House and the Republicans and the both sides of everything, and the governor's got to have a plan. There's so many plans. The governor's plan, he came out with his glorious plan, and Taylorville School District lost $76,000 for the one school year upcoming in August. Then he's revised it since that came out in the middle of spring, and he said he got so much grief over it that he's decided now that it's a hold harmless 1 year. So everybody that was losing doesn't, but it still didn't fix the formula, and it was a 1 year. Speaker Madigan put together a plan. He's got an equity grant built inside his statewide budget for the whole year. And Taylorville would come out not bad, but it's built into the budget. And the budget, if you saw it in the papers, the budget is $70 million in the red. It's not a $70 million budget, it's in the hole that much. So the chances of that's going anywhere is slim. Andy Menard's plan, the first year, Taylorville wins, and we gain an extra $769, almost $770,000 for our district the first year out of the gate. The plan reevaluates every 4 years because there are calculators and there are weights in the system, so that as your poverty changes, as your enrollment numbers change, there are different calculations. As you offer different types of courses, then the money shifts. And it should. It's not a stagnant situation. It's a very fluid calculation, and that's the way it should be. The state still has no budget from last year. They're down to what, 10 days of this fiscal year with no budget. And there's no budget in sight yet for the upcoming state calendar year. With no money coming, Taylorville School District stays open hopefully through January. We come back after Christmas break, and then that's it. There are a number of districts that won't last that long. In Avery Bourne's district, and I use that because she's our representative, and when you look at her legislative district, which is Taylorville, she covers 15 different school districts. Only 3 of them have a lower tax rate than Taylorville, property tax rate than Taylorville. The other 11 are higher than Taylorville. Close by that you'll recognize, Pana, they have a 1.3% higher tax rate than Taylorville. Morrisonville's is 1.22 percentage points higher. Central A&M, Assumption and Wawakwa, they are 1.15% higher. In order for Taylorville to continue to be a thriving community and keep businesses open and our property values from declining, keep our community members, our family, our business leaders here, Dr. Firstenow has informed a number of people, Citizens for Education included, that a referendum is entirely likely. There are no numbers applied to that yet. He's holding out on his school district budget, waiting for the state to decide what they're doing. If they're going to prorate based on last year's budget, if they're going to fully fund like they've talked about, until he starts talking about referendum in hard numbers. We've been working very closely with Dr. Firstenow and the school board, and we look forward to working very closely with the city council as this issue comes to light, as it moves forward, and as we need to continue to support our students and our community here in Taylorville. Thanks for your time and attention.
Thank you. I think we all want to thank your group for what you're doing. I mean, there's nothing that could be more important for this city than what you guys are trying to do right now. We've all seen firsthand, what kind of tasks you have in front of you. I mean, it's Illinois politics. That's what it comes down to. And it's 2 words can make people's stomach turn so quickly. Illinois politics. And it's a shame. It really is. And speaking for myself, and I'm sure for these guys as well, we'll do whatever we can to help you.
Appreciate that.
Alderman Walters.
Yes, Your Honor. So that we have the names for the record, I know the ladies, but we need to have the other 2 ladies introduce themselves, so we'll have their names.
Tanya Gideon, Jenny Moats.
Melissa Livingston.
Rick Champlin.
And I'd like to ask, do they need something in the way of a document or something from the city or from the mayor? A proclamation or something like that, or what's it?
Not at this time. We're just asking for your support, knowing that we'll probably be looking at a referendum when the numbers start coming in. And we don't have enough of that information to share with you at this time, but we will. And we'll continue to communicate and ask to be put on the agenda.
Well, of course, a referendum itself is a sales job, and you need help on that. Too many of us that, once your kids have grown and gone through the school, I think it's, people kind of get in mind, well, I'm done. I've made my contribution, and, we'll let the others, and that's another formula that just doesn't work. So we have to work on that.
So, one last comment I had. I know all these individuals personally, and you talk about a hardworking group of people. If they can get something done, this group will do it.
Yeah. Alderman Bertle.
Yeah, I'd like to make kudos to all of you for taking on this task, because Illinois politics, in my head, as screwed up as they have it now. The referendum, I fear that they see these towns that have referendums that are willing to pay for education twice. I mean, we're paying for it through our property taxes now. If now we're gonna decide we're gonna pay a little more on our own to have our school district up, I can see that the Illinois state legislators saying, well, if they're willing to pay for it, we'll just let them pay for it.
One point that probably needs some attention is that if our district can't continue on its own, if for whatever reason we don't have the funds to maintain it on our own, there's a law on the books that the state will come in and take over.
Wow.
And they become our school board. And the people we elected locally that we chose to be responsible and guide us with our best interest in heart, because they're from our community, are no longer in charge of our school district. The state puts together a panel of their people. They come take over. They decide what classes we can offer, what extracurriculars we can continue to maintain, and most importantly, what our property tax rate will be. They say, you're paying X, you need to be paying Y. It's one chunk, one big leap, and you're on that new tax rate under their direction with their leadership in place. They're trying to lead from Springfield, and you see how you feel about that. Do you want them leading our school board too?
They will not do a good job.
That's it. So when we start trying to sell the referendum in the community, would we rather decide on our own that we want to take that responsibility on? Nobody wants to pay more, I sure don't, but I'd rather decide it for myself and keep our local people in charge than let the state come in and decide what they're gonna raise it to and let them make the decisions.
Because they've done that in East St. Louis,
That's how
and it's
East
a
St.
very bad situation.
It's a mess.
It's really bad.
Well, again, thank you very much.
We've got business cards with our information and our web information, so if anybody's interested.
If you just leave them right down here on this table, we'll make sure that we get it distributed.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to some good news we have for the city. We saw the paper on Sunday, but Computer Techniques Incorporated, they won a very prestigious award called the Gimme Fiber Award, and it's sponsored by the Fiber to the Home Council of North America, and it's an award given only to one community in all of North America. And there's actually only about 50 communities across the country that have this gigabyte internet service that we are now going to have here in Taylorville. So I'd like to have, we got two representatives, whoever wants to stand up and give their name and speak.
I'll speak. My name's Lucy Birtle, and I'm here to talk to you guys about that today. We just recently launched our gigabit. It went publicly known last Wednesday, so everyone now knows that we offer it. It will be offered for people to actually have on July 9th, so if you want to have that service, it's totally available on July 9th. We'll hook everyone up. And we just really would like to invite you guys to our launch party, which will be the day that we actually make everyone live, July 9th. It'll be from 11 to 2 at our place, and we would really love for you guys to be there because this is a huge, huge thing for our community. Like Greg already said, this is very rare, especially for a community our size. No one has this. No one under 11,000 people or 12,000 people has this. And if they do, it's out of the price range. Residential people aren't even offered it. So it's really great. It's going to bring people to us. This is really going to put us on the map for education, for healthcare, for everything. Everyone's going to want this for technology. It's just a really great thing that we can bring to the community. And we're glad that you guys support us so much too.
Definitely, definitely. Any questions or comments? Again, I just echo that it's a wonderful thing for the city of Taylorville, and it really is something that we can sell. It's one more amenity we can put out there that other towns don't have. Alderman Bertle.
And I know the mayor's into the videotaping and video recording, you know, if it takes an hour to download a movie, you can do it now in less than 5 minutes. If it takes 2 days to download I don't know, game, other video games or large files, if it takes hours upon hours to download those, it'll just take a few minutes. So it's if you're into streaming like Netflix, Hulu, those types of Apple TV, anything that you can get over the internet, all that stuff can be super fast. So I'm signed up for already. I got in.
Anyone else? Alderman Jones.
Well, both of these things, is progress in the making. I mean, it took 13 months for this company to run that by themselves. They didn't hire an outside contractor. I know Billy was out there every day, and he's one of the principals of the company, and he was down there setting the example for his employees that, this is what we need to do, and I'm here to set the example of what we need to do. They've grown from 2 employees to what they have now, and it's just wonderful. As far as the schools and Citizens for Education, I spoke with a couple of their members one night, and they said it's all ties hand in hand. What the community offers, what we're willing to do as residents and elected officials for our community. And one of those things that we need to consider is also the Chamber of Commerce. All of these fingers fit the same glove. We're all going in the same direction. And that goes with shop local. If you don't shop local and you don't support our merchants aren't going to be here. If we don't have schools, nobody's going to want to come to our town, live, raise their children. Therefore, we're not going to have merchants, so everybody's going to have to go out of town to get everything. And I know that's not what we want, especially the members of the city council. So we need to remember, not just these 2 groups of people, but it's everybody. We're all in the same boat. We need to make sure that our sails are up and our rudder's headed in the right direction.
Anyone else before we move on? Well, thank you again for coming. Great news.
Thank you for having us.
All right, to move on, I'd ask Mr. Joe Hauser to please address the council regarding the Plan Commission's meeting this evening. Joe.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. The Planning and Zoning Commission met this evening to consider a special use request by Grace Baptist Church to build a 66-foot by 60-foot addition onto their worship center of the existing structure, and to add a 36-foot by 55-foot hallway to join the old and the new structures together. There was a public hearing before our meeting, and no one spoke in opposition to it, which was nice to see. And so after some discussion, one of our members, Mr. Kretzer, made a motion to recommend to the City Council approval the special use request by Grace Baptist Church and the accompanying ordinance. Now, George seems to have disappeared. There was a question about whether they needed to request a variance later. And it turns out that they are actually addressed on Northern Avenue, which makes that the front of the church, even though it's not necessarily sided that way. And therefore, the west side of the church isn't the back, it's the side. Hence, there's only a 7-foot distance requirement to the side line, and you have 15. So they have twice, almost twice the need, or over twice the need that they did. Anyway, the Planning and Zoning Commission made that recommendation to you unanimously.
Just entertain a motion to accept the recommendation.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Alderman Walters, the second. Alden, discussion Roll call.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
There was no other business brought before our committee, so we probably adjourn.
Thank you very much. All right, next we have a resolution. This is an alarm agreement with FBS Incorporated that's doing business as. What is we have the ordinance that goes with that right here, and we'd say Attorney's already got that prepared.
Yes.
Okay.
It's in your packet.
So I'd entertain a motion to approve that ordinance. Alderman Walters. Second. Alderman Bertle. Discussion and comment on the ordinance. Roll call.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, next we have a resolution. This is the alarm agreement with FBS Incorporated, doing business as Warren Security. And this is for the security system at the Gagny building. The city attorney did talk to Mr. Budd or vice versa, and there's something we'd like to amend it with, just some language there. And I'd ask Alderman Budd to go ahead and read that language.
Well, if any of you looked at the agreement, once we sign this, it's for 3 years. We're locked in 3 years. If we were to sell the building in 6 months, we're still locked for 3 years. I talked to Rocky, and he said to add, notwithstanding anything herein to the contrary, the client, meaning city, shall have the right to terminate at any time upon 30 days' notice to the company.
Terminate this contract,
Yes,
this agreement.
that would need to be added to this.
Would you like to make a motion to, a resolution for that agreement with that amended language?
Yes, I would.
Alderman Budd, can I get someone to second that?
I'll make a comment.
Alderman Jones, go ahead with your comment.
Has Warehams been advised of this language?
No, because it just came up this evening before the meeting.
Okay, so we can okay this with the amended language, and then they can say no, we don't.
They could say no and not sign it, and then come back to you folks.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes,
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, next we have an ordinance to retain Chapman and Cutler LLP as bond counsel and disclosure counsel for refunding the 2009 and 2011 alternate revenue bonds. Entertain a motion to approve that resolution. Alderman Bud, get a second?
Second.
Alderman Bertle, will have the comment. Alderman Bud.
David Story's got a hold of the mayor, and the interest rate came in lower than expected at 1.85. With this, we will save over $700,000 from this now, and originally it was like $330. So we've more than doubled what our savings would be. And I don't know what the other ones think, that we need to apply that towards the principal and get that paid off soon.
All right, any other questions, comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have the ordinance, an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issue of the general obligation refunding bonds from an alternate revenue source, the Series 2016A of the City of Taylorville, Christian County, Illinois, for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding alternate bonds of said city, and providing for a levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay such principal and interest if the pledged revenues are insufficient to make such payments, authorizing and directing the execution of an escrow agreement in connection with the issuance of said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof. Entertain a motion to approve that ordinance. Alderman Bud, a second?
Second, Sean.
Alderman Walters, additional discussion or comments?
Mr. Mayor, the city clerk asked me to address this, and I had some concerns too. The ordinance that you have before you is a 75 page document with a lot of blanks in it. So when you're as an attorney, I have a little issue about asking you folks to vote on something that you don't have all the clear numbers inside. So you're gonna be adopting this ordinance with a leap of faith that it's gonna be filled out correctly tomorrow with, so as I understand, it's gonna be savings of $740,000 over the period to lower interest rates. So that's all good news, but for me to tell you that all these numbers are here, they're not. And so, you're doing this as a leap of faith, as far as suggestion.
It's just one of those nature of the beast type things, I think, and.
Again, emails are gonna come in today, but that's okay.
All right, anyone have any questions before we vote? Alderman Jones.
In your legal opinion, is there any language that we can add supplemental to this based upon the numbers? If they don't come in the way that we think that they are, then with this vote can be rescinded by 1 2/3 of the council.
Well, let's be clear, I'm not your bond counsel. I didn't draft this
understand that.
document, nor is it my expertise to draft such a bond ordinance. But they sent it down to me anyway to look at. I saw some typos in it, that's not a big deal. And they said that you adopted some policies, I don't know if you did or not. I'm going to rely, because they're asking me to give a legal opinion, and the legal opinion I'm gonna give is basically gonna turn the monkey back on their back, that it's based upon what you present, because you're the experts, and you're the Chapman Cutler, and based upon what you present, I can vouch for that you guys had a proper open meeting, took a proper vote, and you're still a city, and you haven't been declared bankrupt, those kind of things, the same kind of opinion I gave before, and I'll accept that, but I'm really not comfortable addressing the substance of this ordinance because I didn't draft it, and it's beyond my expertise.
We've got the same type of thing, whether it's.
Well, it's a little bit more
health
wordy, but
insurance, or,
that's,
you know,
that's,
it is- we
you're relying on them, and they're gonna have to vouch for these are non-arbitrage bonds and tax-free and so forth, so.
Well, and I guess the mayor is going to sign this document.
Tonight,
Oh, you're going to sign it tonight before the
Yeah.
council's vote?
this is when the stack is.
Will I get it done tonight or tomorrow?
So you're relying upon them to put the numbers right, what I'm
Okay.
saying. I just feel like it's a.
Let her read it.
I was looking forward to reading that 74 pages.
Well, I thought you might, and I don't think you used per diem in there, but.
Okay, good.
You can start right after the meeting.
Does that make the mayor responsible since his signature's on it?
Actually, you are
That's not a problem.
because you're making certain representations in here. I don't know if you got a written policy.
It's not the right one.
So that's right. They call you a board in some places, you're a city council, but, so.
Okay,
Any other
thank you.
questions before we vote? Roll call, please.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Okay, next we have an ordinance amending 64-1 and 64-2 of the city code. This regarding England, Houston, Cheney, Powers, Morden, and Shumway streets.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Good.
Walter, second by, who's that, Alderman Jones? Second that?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Alderman Walters.
These corrections that, and additions and our deletions were discovered in regards to some other issues in that neighborhood, and talked with Superintendent Wiseman and Clerk Judy, and also appreciate the help from our city attorney, Rocky Romano, in getting this corrected. So these are now the correct signs at the correct locations.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
I sometimes have the same problem.
So we're later in the evening.
Yes.
Depends on if he's been to the festival or not.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Passes 7-0. Okay, the next ordinance I'm going to hold for the ordinance committee motions. We have a motion to direct the city engineer to make the engineering changes needed to install the new sanitary sewer line under Snodgrass Street as opposed to acquiring additional property for an easement on the east side of the street, providing that the cost for the changes do not exceed $5,000.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Alderman Walters, is there a second? Second by Alderman Bud. Discussion or comment? Roll call.
Sean Bertle. Sean
Yes.
Bertle.
Yes.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly,
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters. Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. And then, twice a year, we have to, have a look at the closed session minutes and decide which one's gonna be open. Pam had it in her office, and I have it in mine today. I didn't see any additional ones open at this time, so I entertain a motion to approve the closed session minutes as they stand now.
So moved.
Everyone? Need a second? See a second?
Yeah.
Alderman Bertle. Discussion or comment? Roll call.
Bernie Dorchenez,
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to city attorney updates.
Gentlemen, I have 7 topics I want to briefly discuss with you. First of which is the direct deposit program that you're asking the city treasurer to implement. She has done some research. I have followed up with her, also done some research for it. And what we discovered, the state statute and the administrative code allows you to implement a direct deposit program for payment of your employees' wages, but it cannot be mandatory. It has to be an option. You still have to offer the paper check should an employee want to do that. So, and she had found a couple of forms on the internet that I would ask her to tweak a little bit, because there are some magic language you have to be in there. You have to actually give a notice to the employee and say, this is not required as an incident of hire or maintenance of employment, and the fact that you would not sign up for this will not affect your job with the city. So just understand that she's working on that, and that's gonna be, I think I sent you an email with the statute and the code, so you understand. Secondly is the, I think I mentioned at the ordinance committee, or mentioned before, the intergovernmental cooperation agreement.
Can we just one
Yes.
second? Alderman Edwards has a question.
You, back to the,
Direct deposit.
Direct deposit. You mentioned that we cannot make it mandatory for employees
Correct.
to sign up for this. Can we make it mandatory for new hires?
No.
Really?
Right. If you look in the actual administrative code, there is about the second or third last sentence actually talks about that. You cannot use it for initial hires either.
Thank you.
Okay. The Department of Conservation, I remember we put together an intergovernmental cooperation agreement to allow them to store their boat here. And back and forth with their attorney, the attorney has called me last week and wanted to know if you folks are still willing to do it. They will sign the agreement that we drafted as is. So you'll probably find that, unless you say no, you'll find that on your next city council meeting, hopefully to adopt a resolution for that. I have now given to me this evening from Alderman Dorchenez the notes that you have given to him in response to our proposed Kincaid, Awanico, and Langleyville contracts. I will be now taking these and addressing those notes and making some changes and getting back to you so that you can go forward with it. And I know, I thank Mr. Walters, he did like to use the word per diem as per day, but in my neck of the woods, it means the same thing, but I know there is other definitions out there, but to accommodate you, sir, I'll make that change.
All right, thank you.
Be more comfortable reading the document. You asked me to look at least I saw in the committee meeting minutes tonight, on the prevailing wage issue about a project out the airport. And unfortunately, that statute is pretty tough on you guys. You're not going to be allowed to provide the materials cost and allow someone else to go and build that building that they're wanting to, unless you require that to be prevailing wages. Now, the flip side of that is, and the mayor asked me on the backside of it, I think that if the materials were actually donated free of charge, absent any contract that they have to do so, you could have city employees build it, because it's using your own force, and the Prevailing Wage Act doesn't kick in. So that's the option that you have. It's unfortunate, that's just the rules. I also sent to you tonight that I got, I think last Thursday, on the a proposed intergovernmental cooperation agreement that the city of Pana wants you to revisit, take a look at. You've already passed a resolution and they passed a motion. Now, I throw that out to you. The thing that I see the significance in the change, when it comes back to you, is that you folks limited that you're gonna pay up to, I think, what, 45,000 for your half. I think what they're suggesting is if it exceeds that, they want you to kick in more. So I don't know if that's gonna fly, but that's what I'm saying. I just threw that out to you in an email tonight, and you take the committee, take a look at it, and see what you want to do with that. With respect to the ordinance committee, when we talked about the guys matter, the mayor has drafted a letter, we're kind of tweaking a little bit. He's gonna be sending that out, but I think they now ask for another meeting on June 20th, and the mayor will decide if he wants to give it to him before that meeting or hand it to him. The 30th, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Comment I had on that.
Yes.
To me, it's unbelievable that they're giving away that dollar quantity of food every month. It makes no sense that they're giving away thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars of food. Just inconceivable.
They're making more than that. I think keep you sitting there.
I think I've said enough about that topic. With respect, finally, the last topic is on the SNOS agreement with the Breckenridge. I've got your comments back. I sent you today, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I got a reply back from the council for the SNOS. And I'm probably going to send you an email to suggest that we do not make any further revisions to it based upon that. Because I think what we're running into, guys, this is getting a little bit drawn out of what we initially thought of. You want to provide water to these two pieces of property, the church and the Breckenridge. Now we get into the issue about annexation. And one of the key selling points you folks have to annex is the offering of water and sewer services. And I think this last request that they're putting on the table for us is that I said, okay, if we annex in and you already have a water line there and a water customer, fine, okay, because there's that federal statute. But we asked that once we annex in, you cannot have any more water customers or run any more water lines. And the response to that is they want to be able to still sell water if we don't put a water line out there. Well, I think we're getting a little far-fetched because that's going to probably affect your ability to negotiate, agreements with businesses coming in. If they can get water elsewhere, perhaps at a lesser price. So, food for thought. I'll send you an email. What I'm basically saying here now, but I'm going to probably recommend that you not go forward with those latest requests and stick with what we got. Okay. Any questions? That's 7.
Any questions for the city attorney?
Well, you want to talk about, on yours about the comprehensive plan?
Well, I can, the people that are working on the roadside for the industrial park, they're still trying to find funding for that as well. And so they're in the process of submitting a grant to try and get some funding for that. One of the things they look at as part of that grant is your comprehensive plan and what kind of language is in that. So they've asked us to kind of tweak that a little bit to show that we have interest in that direction, which we already had, but we're going to put that in print and give them a little stronger case to make their argument why they should look at Taylorville for that grant. And so they've asked the city attorney to kind of work with them, and they provided some language, and Rocky will look it over and get back with them. But it's a fairly easy thing to do on our end. Again, we're not changing correction or anything else. We're just putting more emphasis on the location of it, and that would involve actually changing a future use map plan. It's a part of that comprehensive thing. Just changing it to industrial versus what it is now. I think it's residential on some farm, agricultural, residential. When back in 2006 when they were doing the project out there.
The target is to try to get that accomplished by year end.
This will not necessitate a brand new complete book and a new cover and all 100 and some odd pages.
No.
Let's just make a correction page or whatever we want to do.
An amendment, and you'll have a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's informal, like you did when you did the bigger thing. Adopt an ordinance and pretty much just done.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Burke.
My question would be, how many amendments or how many changes to the comprehensive plan could we make? Because I got a request into the ordinance chairman to not only talk about the comprehensive plan, but some subdivision ordinance and some requests for city, or some attorney requests. And I didn't know, would we be better off to make those changes all at the same time, or can we make amendment whenever we want to, or is it?
To answer your direct question, there's no limit as to the amount of amendments you can make according to statute, so you can do it anytime.
All right, so the odds of us having to write a new one to make these amendments is pretty slim, is that what you're saying?
What's that?
Well, Earl's question, or Alderman Walter's
We
question.
will not necessitate a complete new plan.
No, you can do it piecemeal.
Well, and I think just to clarify, it will not definitely on what we're looking at right now.
Right.
If there was to be a major change in it, would that change anything, or can you still make that one major change if it talks about housing or something, or future need for housing?
You can make a small amendment or a large amendment, because the comprehensive plan is supposed to be a living document. As your community changes and your needs changes, or the prospects of people coming in change, it's time to review your comprehensive plan and take another peek at it. This particular request is to make a piece of property, 30-some acres, I think, or maybe up as many as 45.
Yeah, I think
45.
it's 47, and they've reduced it in size for this.
Right, for an I-2, or for industrial zoning classification. But what they're gonna do now is go back and look at your definitions for I-1 and I-2, your zoning code, and see if what they wanna market, it fits into that code right now. If not, now's the time to change those uses, then change the map and say, this is the future for us in this area. That's what they're talking about.
You hit the nail on the head. Our community has changed
Yeah.
drastically, probably in the last year and a half, 2 years. And I think the comprehensive plan needs to be changed a little bit. Our ordinances need to be changed, our building code needs to be changed, so that's, you answered the question.
Okay.
Anyone else before we move on? All right, move on to mayor updates, and I've only got one thing, and again, we had some good news earlier tonight, and I saw another good story, and this has to do with Breeze Courier, where their staff won several awards. At the annual Illinois Press Association Awards Banquet and Conference held on June 10, 2016 at the Crown Plaza in Springfield. As I said, they were recognized for several awards, and I don't have the list here. I did see that Owen was one, the group of winners there, so we can congratulate him. And I think it just shows that this town is, full of intelligent, talented people. Why none of them want to run for public office is beyond. Just kidding. All right, let's move on to committee reports. Discussions and or motions to approve, adopt, and or deny, and or table, and or amend, and refer to an appropriate committee in whole or in part the matters regarding the following subject matters discussed at the committee level. And we've got Lake Airport, and I think Alderman Bud is going to read that on behalf of Alderman Bud.
Okay, there was one motion that came out of that, and the motion was to accept the quote of 6470, option A, a 48-inch by 112-inch double-sided custom sign to the Taylorville Municipal Airport at a price not to exceed $6,600, which includes the setup. Can you make that informed motion?
Okay, second on that, second by Alderman Headley. Discussion or comment? Roll call.
Ron Heatherly,
Yes.
Bruce Jones,
No.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. Moving on to Water Environmental Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first motion to come out of the Water Environment Committee meeting was a motion to direct the city attorney to send a letter to Kincaid notifying them of our intent to open the contract. I'd like to make that in the form of a motion and have a comment.
Okay, give a second on that.
Second, Your Honor.
Alderman Walters, go ahead with the comment. Alderman Dorchenez.
You're all aware that what we're trying to do is we want all these contracts that we have with Langleyville, Monaco, Kincaid to all expire and start up again at the same time. And in the current contract with Kincaid, that contract will expire in January 2019, and the city must notify Kincaid 24 months in advance to open that contract. So that's the purpose of the letter.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Bruce Jones,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The second motion and last motion to come out of the Water and Environmental Committee meeting was a motion to accept the bid of $16,500 $380 from Mimco for water main materials, and I'd like to make that in form of motion.
Okay, second on that.
Second, Shawna.
Walters, discussion or comment? Roll call.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to ordinance committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a motion to prepare an ordinance to amend subparagraph C2 of the Taylorville City Code, sections 3-2-21 to read as follows. C-2, a certified copy of the monthly ST1 and ST2 sales and use tax returns and sales tax reports is filed by the applicant or licensee to the Illinois Department of Revenue for the subject 3 consecutive month period. We have that ordinance in hand. I'd like to make a motion for prepare and to accept the ordinance as presented.
Okay, just a second. Alderman Bud, discussion or comment? Roll call.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Our next motion was to motion to prepare an ordinance that provides and adds a definition of gross revenue in section 3-3-1 and or in section 3-3-21 of the Taylorville City Code relating to the retail sale of alcoholic liquor, food, meals, non-alcoholic beverages, snacks, tobacco, sundries, and from any and all other merchandise, property, and or goods of any kind, nature, or extent whatsoever, and from all other activities on the liquor licensed premises. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, just a second on that.
Second. With a comment.
Alderman Dorchenez, go with your comment.
More of a question, and not necessarily on this motion, but is that law easily accessible on the internet? The video gaming?
Yes.
I rely on the statutes, but the
Yeah.
internet,
Yeah, I mean,
I suppose it is.
Yeah, I mean, you go to the gaming side itself.
I mean, we've got the books back here, probably not even in the books yet. I'm just guessing.
Maybe not
Oh,
those
no.
copies.
What version you have, but, the Video Gaming Act is probably, I would say it's on the internet, why?
Well, we're making all these changes, and I'm of the opinion that we're flying by the seat of our pants because of the fact that the state keeps making it more difficult, I think, to abide by the rules, and we keep trying to make the rules to make the people that have the gambling already, make it legal for them. So we keep making all these changes, and I'd like to review it myself, the law, and I think I can come up with something better.
Well, I
Or that.
always appreciate your comments, they're gonna find when you do read the law, it doesn't address these types of issues, that's the problem.
But you go ahead and look and find out anyway.
We'll welcome any language that you would suggest, but I think we've got a handle on it.
Until next time, when we make another
That's
change.
right, that's right.
Alderman Bertle.
I voted no on this at the committee level, and the reason I voted no, I think I've been kind of misunderstood over the last year and a half when we started this, or 2 years, however long it's been going on, but I don't necessarily care how many there is in town. I don't necessarily like the idea that we have our liquor licenses limited, that we have them numbered, on how many we can hand out, and we'll make adjustments to that depending on what moves to town. What I don't like is that the statute attaches video gaming to liquor licenses. It doesn't attach it to food sales, sundries, tobacco, candy bars, anything else. It ties it to liquor specifically, liquor license. And for the life of me, I don't understand why we just don't head down that road of liquor license and liquor sales only. So if you are a pharmacy and you sell liquor, then your liquor sales has something to do with how much video gaming you have. And, you know, this magical number that we came up with, 51%, that's something that this council did. That's not in the statute. So that's something we did ourselves. So we created that monkey. And now we're trying to adjust the monkey to fit the needs of our community, and I understand that. But if we just stuck with the sale of liquor and liquor licenses, we would eliminate all the sundries and the candy bars and the food items and whether they're a restaurant or not. And what I think is happening, I think the businesses that were supposed to be helped, and whether we, whether you agree or not that they needed help at the time, was the taverns and the truck stops and whatever else that this statute covers that could have video gaming initially. That was supposed to help them because they couldn't make it with liquor sales, but I think just because the state wanted their portion of illegal gambling that was going on. But nonetheless, that's what the intent was. And what we've done now, we've tied it to food, we've tied it to pharmacy, we've tied it to bowling alley, we've tied it to all sorts of things. We've had convenience stores come in here, try to get a liquor license to pour and serve. I just think it would be behoove us and be a lot simpler for the city of Taylorville to just go down the road, a liquor license, a liquor sales that is poured and consumed on premises, like the state statute says. And then we wouldn't have to worry about readjusting these liquor licenses down the road. I just think that we're creating a lot of work for ourselves.
Except, and I agree with you to a certain extent, except that you then have to develop how much liquor served.
But we're only adjusting one thing instead of several.
Yeah, well, but the argument then would be if you're gonna have gaming, you're gonna have a number that matches it, you may have to go out there and force people to drink that don't.
No, you would force the person with video gaming to either sell more alcohol or
Right.
get out of video gaming.
Or, yeah, either
Well, yeah.
or, so they either have to sell more, or, or maybe give up one of their machines. I mean, they could back off it that way, I suppose. If you're above it, you could say, okay, I got 5 machines, now I'll go down to 3 or 4 and see if the number
And
goes.
I realize I'm a minority in this issue, but I feel the need to keep bringing it up.
Well, it's a tough issue, because I think when this first came up to this council, I thought the message was clear. You really didn't want, quote, a gaming parlor, end quote. You wanted it tied to a liquor license or a restaurant, who truly was a restaurant that had a liquor license. And that's where these funds came up, and we're seeing that they may be difficult to achieve in some instances, where you would still want that particular business to function. But if you don't have some kind of limitation on it, then I don't want to mention names, but you may have someone that buys a bottle of wine and serves it, to a gaming partner. If that's what you want, so be it. But the rules you have now was a good faith effort to try to not promote gaming parlors, but have truly tied to liquor sales or a regular restaurant that does sell liquor. That was the only reason that you guys came up with those formulas, as I recall.
Alderman Olive first, then Alderman Roach.
Kind of my thought, and I have to agree with Sean, that, so you're no longer, so we're gaming. But I think we're looking at it, trying to control it in some fashion of having a restaurant or whatever you want to call it. But kind of in my mind, what we've created all these things, and Sean's right, it's all tied back to liquor. That's how it all began, and that's how it's gonna remain. So I guess I don't understand why we want, it is what it is. They are gambling parlors, and you're not gonna change that fact. You can call it a restaurant if you want to. It's still going to be a gambling parlor. In a sense, I mean, I know we're gonna put a different title on it, but I think we're just creating things we're putting up a smoke screen trying to more or less hide the truth.
But I think there's some that have it now that were in our original thought process. We wanted the income to only be ancillary. And in other words, not the primary thing. If you're a restaurant, you've been a restaurant for 20 years, and you're gonna pick up an extra couple $1,000s a month to help tide you over, we're okay with that, as long as you're still making 90% of yours from the restaurant. And I think we were generally, most of us said, that's good. Just one more thing you could add, to help a little bit. But when you start making more at that than you are what you're claiming to be, that's where most of us have the problem. And if you're gonna be a restaurant, then be a restaurant and serve food. Don't claim to be a restaurant and not really serve any food and play the games with us. And that's kind of where we got. And then they started pointing fingers at the taverns, who also may not meet that number. And that's where we are right now, is trying to come up with something that makes sense. in a world that doesn't make sense.
I think that's the outward trying to make sense, and I personally don't.
And I think we just can't give up. I mean, I'd be fine. I mean, if the state would just pull, you know, in 2014, they actually had legislation that the governor had put there and actually got through, I believe, one of the houses, but, you know, then the liquor lobby came in and said, because they were actually taking liquor away from them, and they wouldn't allow that to happen. So that's probably stuff what we got today. All right, where are we moving?
Right here.
Oh, George,
He said he wants to read the statute.
Yeah, as I recall, the way that this got started was we had a lot of people here that came to the meetings that tried to put pressure, because they were self-serving. They already had the establishments. They already had the machines or plans for them. And they were trying to ostracize those people that were trying to get in to the gambling and then weren't in the gambling, because it was going to reduce the amount of profits that they're going to make, because and I would agree that there's only so many of those dollars that are floating around that people are going to put in those machines. And if you have more machines, you're not going to have more dollars. You're going to have the same amount of dollars with this spread over more machines. And there's going to be some people that aren't going to be able to stay in business because of it. And so to me, that's where we started with all these wrinkles put in there. And that's why I wanted to look at the statute. To me, it doesn't make sense to me to, and like, I won't say the name, but the one that it was on the square on the north side, and was the first one, I think, the first one in the state of Illinois, because he knew it was coming. He went out east and looked at what they were doing out there, and came back and mimicked what they were doing out there here, because the ones who were out there were successful. He wanted to be successful, so that's what he did. But, you know, he has since closed up. But if you, it doesn't make sense to me if you're going to allow the video gambling, other than what the state has made the law, is why would you tie it to anything? You're going in there normally. You're going in there to gamble. You're not going in there to drink. But you have to provide that. So I don't know if we can circumvent that or not. To me, I would rather have a place that you just, if that's what you're going in there for, that's what it is. And you don't have to serve anything, hot dogs, popcorn, liquor, or anything else. And I don't see that being any more negative than having a place that, it may not be as negative, than having a place that you have to have liquor. But as I understand, the statute requires it.
All right, we have a motion on here to change the wording, and again, the purpose of that was to tighten up, so if we do end up in court, that Mr. Romano can argue our case better, that we've also pinned down the language even further. So we have a motion by Alderman Jones, second by Alderman Dorchenez.
I made my motion with wanting to comment.
Okay.
I'll be the last one to comment, hopefully. We had quite an extensive discussion at committee on this issue. I had quite an extensive discussion with Mr. Laswell after our committee meeting. I think we broke up about 10:15, something like that, maybe 10:30. I don't remember exactly what it was when I walked in the door. But we originally tried to do the best we could with what the state threw at us. They said, we're going to have video gaming, good luck. This is what we did. No community, no two communities, no three communities are the same. And all the rules don't fit each community. So I believe your words, a good faith effort to try and control this and not let it go out of hand and have gaming parlors on every corner in Taylorville. I think that we tried to do the best that we could. But the residents of this community have been voting with their wallets that they want these types of establishments, whether we want them or not. And I said at the committee that we are the representatives of the people, and we need to look at this a little harder. And I foresee changes coming to this ordinance yet again, regardless of how we get there, to somehow allow it in some form or another. I still think that we reserve the right to limit the number of licenses, and I think that we need to do that. Like Alderman Dorchenez says, there's only so many discretionary dollars, and rather than people going out and just setting up more gaming parlors and trying to get a license for them, then that's I don't see that happening. So although we do need to take care of this right now in order to protect the city, I think that that's the right thing to do. And again, we will be looking at this in a future committee meeting. I'm going to try and have some conversations with some of the other communities that are dealing with this, and see if we can't come up with maybe a more streamlined formula for taking care of this while still protecting, the residents of our community from the blight that some of this can take over on every corner. If you go through some of these other communities, there's gaming parlor after gaming parlor after gaming parlor, and it's not a pretty sight. It's just really not. A building is a building, but when you keep saying the same thing on every, that's a little excessive. So we want to protect our community, we want to protect the residents of our community, but we also want to serve them as well. So with that, I think we can go ahead and vote.
One short comment. If that is our goal, we're not doing a very good job of it.
I think that we're doing a fine job of it.
Well, I know one place that you could crawl from one to the other. There's 3 of them within crawling distance.
I understand that.
So what we're trying to do,
You can go right down
is that's how close they are together. There's one back to back, and the other one, you can do cartwheels to the other one.
Yeah.
If we're trying to, maybe we ought to put rules in there, you gotta disperse them, you can only have one in a block or something,
Well, we'll discuss it in committee, like we have over and over again, and we'll discuss it again.
We can only discuss a committee if we get through this meeting.
Wait, no, I said I was gonna make the last comment. No, he said the last
I got one
comment.
more comment, because this discretionary dollar thing, we keep saying this, especially when the media is there. That's not true. There is more discretionary dollars than what Alderman Jones and Alderman Dorchenez said, because we started out this process, we almost had a majority that weren't gonna allow, initially weren't gonna allow the video gaming in the house. And we got off that kind of blatant game, decided we were gonna allow it. But discretionary dollars, we went from 19,000 to 200,000. So somebody's coming up with some funds somewhere, but they weren't spending last year and the year before that, and I don't think that's happened.
All right, let's vote on this motion. Roll call, please.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
No.
Ernie Dorchenez. Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-2. All right, I think we're still with the ordinance committee.
Yes, we are. We have a motion to allow from time to time consideration of petitions for annexation of property prior to the next scheduled annexation public hearing dates, where such property is contiguous to the city's corporate limits, and there is no request for city water and or city sewer services, and there is no adjacent roadway outside the city's corporate limits. The city reserves the right to deny any and all such petitions for annexations. I'd like to make that motion, please.
Okay, give a second on that.
Second.
Alderman Walters, discussion or comment? Roll call.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Ernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Jim Olive.
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to finance committee.
Do you want to adopt that ordinance now that you threw the finance, ordinance?
Bruce did that.
We adopted the SD1, SD2.
Motion.
And ordinance.
And we did the ordinance at the same time.
Finance committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first motion was to accept the property and equipment insurance through Cincinnati Insurance Company for $61,331, the general liability and auto coverage through One Beacon for $157,230, and an additional $1,662 for terrorism coverage, and the pollution liability / storage tank environmental impairment insurance through Crum and Forster Insurance Company for $5,503, for a total of $225,726, all to be provided through Diamond Brothers Insurance Company. Make that in form of motion.
Okay, a second on that. Alderman Bertle, discussion and comment? Roll call.
Bernie Dorchenez,
Yes.
Rob Heatherly,
Yes.
Bruce Jones,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next motion was to direct the city engineer to seek bids for the 30-inch northeast sanitary sewer. Make that in form of motion.
Second.
Second by Alderman Heberlin, discussion or comment? Roll call.
Rob Heatherly,
Yes.
Bruce Jones,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud.
Yes.
Sean Burdell.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next motion was to direct the city engineer to seek bids for the Ward 2 Phase 5 sewer project. Make that in form of motion.
Second.
Alderman Heberlin, discussion or comment? Roll call.
Bruce Jones,
Yes.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Burdell,
No.
Bernie Dorchenez,
Yes.
Rob Heatherly.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
The next motion was to approve the following FY 2016-2017 budgets: administration, insurance, IMRF, safety, Social Security / Medicare, and library, and forward them to the city treasurer for further requirement. Make that form of motion.
Second on that.
Second.
Alderman Heberlin, discussion and comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes.
And the last motion was to approve the treasurer's report as presented. Make that in form of motion.
Second by Alderman Bertle, discussion and comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Finally, we have a motion to approve and ratify payment of bills in the amount of $261,749.48.
Okay, make that in form of motion.
Alderman Bud, second by Alderman Bertle. Go ahead, Alderman Bud.
Electric, $14,523.96. Fuel, $14,371.67. Office supplies, $2,118.88. Ace, Big R, Urban and Taylorville Feed, $2,283.63. U.S. Bank for miscellaneous, $1,098.47. KMRN for commercial package insurance, 4th of 4, $14,845. Meyer, Austin and Romano for OD and legal, $5,121. U.S. postage was $1,000. Green and Bradford, $19,892.05. Larry's Service Center, $2,335.28. J.F. Cody for supplies, $2,995.70. IMCO for supplies, $10,945.24. Wareham's, $1,028. Altorfer, $2,642.50. Delaware Department of Revenue for fuel sales tax, $1,381. Unique Temporary Help, $3,661.68. Computer Tech, $2,586.96. Phil Tolis, $7,222.60. Police and Fire Commission for ads, $2,310.64. Fire Department for training, $1,193.20. Street Department, Christian County Highway Department for materials, $1,017.20. Cartograph Systems Incorporated for software renewal, $2,900. Lincoln Land Community College for CDL training, $3,900. I believe this is reimbursable if he passes.
He must have passed, that's why I'm driving the truck the other day.
PH Broughton for hot mix, $1,106.68. Water Department, chemicals, $11,827.41. Henry Pratt Company for a valve, $2,264. EH Walks Company for the valve maintenance trailer, $74,182.83. Midwest Meter for supplies and parts, $2,559.36. PDC Labs for water testing, $1,371. Sewer Department, Vanderveer Engineering, $1,970.40. Airport Aero Engineering for AV Fuel, $26,058.45. Stork Antenna for lenses, $1,000. Haley Bright for lens, $1,048.15. Cemetery Francis Stork for a grave refund of $1,500. These totals are $246,262.94.
Any other questions or comments regarding the budget or the bills? All right, roll call, please.
Jim Olive,
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
I just had a question on the CD training, or CDL training. What is that? Is that for our new hires or what? I totally don't understand how it is.
It's an employee we had already that needed the CDL, and they had this opportunity to, actually Lincoln Land had a grant program where they said, you know, they could temporarily come up with the funds. Normally we'd have either the city have to pay it, or the individual himself would have to pay it, but they had a grant available, and it would be reimbursing up on him passing it. He passed it, and so now we're gonna reimburse Lincoln Land for that grant, so they can use it for somebody else. Okay. Roll call, please.
Jim Olive,
Yes.
Earl Walters.
Yes.
Larry Bud,
Yes.
Sean Bertle.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes.
Rob Heatherly,
Yes.
Bruce Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. City Attorney, do you have something?
I got a question, and I was just talking to your city treasurer here. If you go back to her treasurer's report, if you look at your minutes, and she just checked it here. What caught my eye was that, for example, the March 2000 sales tax was, you know, I don't know, which was about $4,000 higher than the March of the previous year. And the next sentence talks about the year-to-date is $6,800 less than March. And so there's some confusion as to what those numbers aren't adding up, and I think she's just gonna check the formula. So she doesn't need to have it approved tonight, so I think she might want to have an opportunity to recheck those numbers and bring it back.
I thought she said that that was, in March, it was more, but we were still down
That's correct.
as the year,
That's what,
for the year.
that's what she's thinking overall.
Yeah, that's what you
Yeah.
told us, that was that for the year in March, and then you gave us the April because you had 2 months worth.
I'll have to look at that other spreadsheet that I give you,
Yeah.
because that has my formula already plugged in,
Yeah.
so.
So in the worst case scenario, we'd have to amend it.
Just a minute, come back next month, but she was going to double check that, because I read that, a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at the meeting.
That's the way she explained it.
Okay, so-
Was that it was, but per year, whether it was February, March, or April, those figures come in, we were higher in March, but over the year, we were still
Still
low by
low.
6,000.
How your formula. She'll check it.
All right, per subparagraph G of 5 ILCS 120/2.06, this portion of the city council meeting is reserved for any person wishing to address the council on any relevant subject matters concerning the city. Does anyone else out there like to address the council? Seeing no one? Alderman Dorchenez.
Rumor has it, I've had a couple different people tell me that, ask me if the city engineer has sold his business. And I said, it hasn't come to me from City Hall, so it sounds like it's just a rumor. I don't know if there's any truth to it. Have you heard any?
I've heard, again, I haven't had anything pinned down to me. I've heard anywhere from 51% of it to total. So again, I don't know what.
Oh, I'm getting this at McDonald's. It's not. So it must be 51%.
Let's go to closed session.
And the other question that was generated from that is if in fact, if he's not the principal owner, can he be the city engineer? And I don't know the answer to that. He's been the city engineer since I've been on the council. Do you have to be the principal to be the? No.
I'm thinking of 51% of the building, see, that's pretty good. Value.
All right.
I'd make 51% of that.
Is there anything else on the agenda to prevent us from closing this meeting? I entertain a motion to close the meeting. Mr. Olive, Alderman Olive, second? Somebody? Second. Alderman Dorchenez. Discussion, all those in favor? Against, motion passes. Meeting adjourns 8:19.